Hello, YouTube. This was one of the most interesting cases pertaining to UFOs in the waning days of the Soviet Union. Few people remember it today, but I want to bring your attention to it. On March 21st, 1990, tens of thousands of residents of the Moscow, Yaroslavl, Tver, and Vladimir regions observed mysterious objects in the sky. Flying saucers appeared that evening over Pereslavl-Zalessky, Fryazin, Alexandrov, Zagorsk, Sergiev Posad, Kirzhach, Bezhetsky, Yaroslavl, and dozens of other cities and towns in Russia. There were clear marks on the air defense radars. There were quite tangible targets in the air. The commanders of the Moscow Air Defense District units collected over 100 reports from their subordinates, for whom identifying all flying objects is a familiar job. Moreover, it was their professional duty. Some reports were actually soon published. The object was moving in an easterly direction at twice the speed of a conventional fighter. Corporal Bechovets wrote in his explanatory note, "There was no sound. The object was constantly emitting light signals. The more often, the faster it was moving. The light was a bright white color and so powerful that it perceived through the clouds when it went behind them. Two light sources were located parallel to the horizon. The object was moving, then descending, then rising in different directions. After 21 hours, a second UFO appeared. They moved in circles at great distance from each other. At about 21:50 hours, a plane appeared which went to rendezvous with the UFO. As they approached, they disappeared behind the clouds, and when the clouds passed, I saw only a UFO plane flying away at high speed in a northerly direction. But after about 5 seconds, both UFOs continued their flight at the speed of an aircraft. In connection with this, let you hear recollections of the Russian journalist Mikhail Zakharchuk. Colonel General Igor Mikhailovich Maltsev. After the ill-fated flight of the Matthias Rust in 1987, Gorbachev destroyed the top command of the air defense forces almost in one swoop. But somehow, Colonel General Maltsev miraculously survived as the chief of the general staff. However, there was no miracle. Igor Mikhailovich Maltsev was just in the Baltic region at that time, and that's why he wasn't fired. And thanks to him, the forces were saved from the total destruction. No more, but no less. Maltsev's biography is exemplary in all respects for Soviet times. So, Zakharchuk and Maltsev met in the most trivial way. As a military correspondent for TASS agency under the USSR Minister of Defense, Zakharchuk interviewed the chief of the general staff of the air defense forces on the eve of the professional holiday that they had. And immediately he liked Colonel General Maltsev through his openness, accessibility, and remarkable mind. The journalist supposed the general took liking to him as well. After some time, he called Zakharchuk to Chornaya Street, where the headquarters of the Air Defense Forces was located, and handed him a bulky folder, which, as it turned out, contained materials on a rather sensational case of unidentified flying objects in the Pereslavl-Zalessky area. Out of the corner of his ear, Zakharchuk heard about the outrages created by space aliens over the city near Lake Plesheyev from the golden ring of Russia. Nevertheless, he sarcastically asked the military commander, Igor Mikhailovich, do you need it? Meanwhile, the general was more than serious. You see, I sent a pilot to intercept, and now, together with the commander of the aviation regiment, we will scratch the turnips, meaning their heads, how to write off the fuel that was used. After all, no accountant will acknowledge even mention of UFOs. And all the armies of the world have a similar article. There are aliens flying, or so it seems to us. I am least interested in that right now. But I should have the right to send airplanes for this kind of reconnaissance. That's why you should write in such a way as to draw attention of the heads of the Ministry of Defense to this issue. This is my request to you. Of course, Zakharchuk agreed. He prepared the material quickly and called Maltsev. A publication on such a sensitive topic could become the sensation of the year, but only on one condition: if you, Igor Mikhailovich, comment on it. The general responded, I agree. Write the following. I'm not an expert on UFOs, so I can only summarize the data we have and make my guess. So according to eyewitnesses, the UFO was a disk with a diameter of 100 to 200 meters. There were two pulsating lights on its sides. When the object was flying in a horizontal plane, the line of lights was parallel to the horizon. When moving vertically, it rotated perpendicular to the ground. In addition, the object rotated around its axis and flew like a snake in both horizontal and vertical planes. The UFO hovered over the ground, then flew at the speed 2-3 times higher than the speed of a modern fighter jet. All observers noted that the speed of the UFO's flight depended on the frequency of flickering side lights. The more often the lights flashed, the higher the speed. The object flew at the altitude of between 1,000 and 7,000 meters. The UFO's movement was not accompanied by any sounds and was characterized by amazing maneuverability. It seems that UFOs were devoid of inertia or somehow got along with gravity. To date, terrestrial mechanical devices, apparatuses, do not have such capabilities. On the screens of the aircraft's radar sight and the screens of several radar stations of radio engineering units, objects were observed as marks from the radar target. This observation was not recorded at one station. The newspaper Socialistiskaya Industria published Zakharchuk's article, UFOs on Air Defense Radars, with a comment by Maltsev. Nothing more sensational has ever happened in Zakharchuk's many years of journalistic practice. Tens of hundreds of foreign and domestic publications responded to his publication. If everything he has written in his life compared to a pinhead, then the responses to the amazing material would exceed the size of a balloon from Jules Verne, The Mysterious Island. Zakharchuk had given interviews to several foreign TV and radio companies. At that time, the All Union Radio referred several times to the comment of the Chief of the General Staff of the Air Defense Forces, and Central Television decided to dedicate a program to the events near Pereslavl-Zalessky. It should be noted that both then and now, as it seems to him, Zakharchuk treated everything that lies behind the capacious abbreviation of UFOs with a fair amount of common sense, if not skepticism, however, not spoiled by such deafening attention to his person and flattered by it with the passion of enthusiast. He took it upon himself to help the TV crew prepare the program. Of course, Zakharchuk imagined much more than his civilian colleagues the amount of difficulties that they would have to face in this case. However, he hoped for Maltsev's help in solving them. That was not the case. When he called Igor Mikhailovich and offered him a joint appearance on television, Zakharchuk heard, "Don't even mention my last name anymore." Yazov, at the time USSR Minister of Defense, became enraged when he was informed of my comment. We do not and cannot have any UFOs, said the marshal. Zakharchuk supposed Maltsev got into a lot of trouble, but as a decent man, he didn't make a big deal out of a molehill. And they continue to maintain a very good relationship, which it seems to Zakharchuk, it's quite clearly visible from his diary entries. This is what I wanted to let you know about this magnificent case of UFOs over the Soviet Union. And pay attention how the Soviet media at the time, unchained by Gorbachev, it wasn't the old-style communist Soviet Union anymore. The media was unchained and UFOs could be talked about from 1989. Pay attention how they reacted and compare it to the, some of the Western media nowadays, and not only Western when it comes to UFOs. And the military, of course, reacted in the obvious way as they do in other countries on this planet. But just understand, it's not only Area 51, or the deserts of New Mexico and so forth that contain the secrets of UFOs. You should also look at the largest country in the world, the USSR, and now Russia, because they had thousands of years of observations, and China even longer. And in my channel, you will find confirmation through my videos about Soviet, Russian, Chinese ufology and cases that stretch back for millennia. Dates, names, wherever possible, as much information as I can provide. It's a big planet out there. So learn that UFOs don't just flock to the United Kingdom or the United States. Thank you for your attention to my work. If you like my work, please help me through you'll find the links on how to do it in the description to this channel, if you can. And subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button. And again, I appreciate your attention to my work.